The illusion of separation is perhaps the most profound misunderstanding that humanity has ever embraced. It is the belief that we exist apart from the earth, as though we are independent entities observing it from the outside. This perspective is not only flawed but dangerous, for it leads us to act as if we are rulers of a passive, inert world rather than participants in a living, dynamic system. From this illusion springs the idea that the earth is merely a collection of resources to be used at will, a vast warehouse stocked for our convenience. We drill into its depths, carve away its forests, and pollute its rivers with a sense of entitlement, as though these actions bear no consequences. Yet this separation is a fabrication of the mind, a construct that has no basis in reality. Science, philosophy, and ancient wisdom all converge on one truth: everything is interconnected. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the food that sustains us, these are not commodities, they are gifts from the earth, inseparable from its essence. When we harm the earth, we harm ourselves, for we are bound to it in ways far deeper than we often acknowledge. This illusion is reinforced by the way we perceive ourselves. We see the skin as a boundary, the self as confined to the body, and the mind as isolated within the skull. But consider for a moment how arbitrary these divisions are. The oxygen in our lungs was exhaled by trees, just as the carbon dioxide we release nourishes them in return. The water in our blood has cycled through oceans and clouds, connecting us to rivers and rainfall across the globe. Every action we take ripples outward, affecting not only the environment but all life within it. Yet when we view ourselves as separate, we fail to see these connections. We lose sight of the delicate balance that sustains life, mistaking our temporary dominance for true independence. The illusion of separation also breeds fear and conflict. If we see the earth as other, as something to be controlled or subdued, we place ourselves in opposition to the very source of our existence. This antagonistic stance fuels a relentless drive to conquer and exploit, leaving devastation in its wake. It blinds us to the reality that the earth is not an enemy to be vanquished, but a partner in our shared journey of life. Through this illusion, we distance ourselves from nature's wisdom, forgetting that the rhythms of the earth are the rhythms of life itself. In our pursuit of progress, we neglect the lessons written in the cycles of the seasons, the flow of rivers, and the stillness of ancient stones. These natural processes are not alien to us, they are reflections of our own being. Interconnectedness is the profound realization that nothing in existence stands alone, that all things are bound together in an intricate web of relationships. This truth defies the boundaries we so often impose between ourselves and the world, reminding us that every breath we take, every step we make, is a thread woven into the vast tapestry of life. Consider the air you are breathing right now. It has traveled through countless forms, through the lungs of animals, the leaves of trees, the endless skies. It carries the stories of ancient forests, the exhalations of distant oceans and distant oceans, and the whispers of countless lives that came before. In this way, every inhale connects us to the entire history of the planet, and every exhale contributes to the lives around us. This interconnectedness is not just a poetic idea, it is a tangible reality. The food we eat, drawn from the soil, is nourished by the decomposition of past life. The water we drink has flowed through rivers and clouds, touched by the sun and the moon, cycling through the Earth's living systems. Every cell in our bodies is made from elements forged in the hearts of ancient stars, linking us to the cosmos itself. Interconnectedness reveals that no action exists in isolation. A seed planted in the ground grows into a tree, which in turn provides shade, oxygen, and habitat for countless creatures. A river flowing through a valley sustains life for miles around, its waters eventually merging with the ocean. These relationships are not linear, they form an intricate web in which every strand supports and influences the whole. When we examine ecosystems, we see this truth mirrored in nature. The survival of a single species depends on a delicate balance within its environment. Pollinators, for example, sustain plants, which in turn provide food and shelter for countless forms of life, including humans. Remove one element from this chain, and the entire system begins to falter. This interconnected design is not an accident, it is the essence of life itself. Even within human societies, interconnectedness is evident. The food on our tables is the result of the efforts of farmers, the fertility of the soil, the water from distant rainfalls, and the energy of the sun. The clothes we wear, the homes we live in, the technology we use, all are the culmination of countless relationships stretching across cultures, economies, and the natural world. Yet this interconnectedness is often invisible to us. We overlook the origins of the things we consume, forgetting that each one has a story that ties it to the earth and to others. By failing to acknowledge these connections, we alienate ourselves from the very network that sustains us. The boundaries we perceive between nations, species, and even individuals are, in reality, porous and fluid. We are not separate entities, but dynamic participants in a shared existence. Interconnectedness also teaches us that harm to one part of the system reverberates throughout the whole. When we pollute the oceans, it is not just marine life that suffers. The entire planet feels the ripple effects, from climate patterns to the health of human communities. The destruction of a rainforest is not a localized tragedy. It diminishes the life force of the earth itself, a loss felt across continents and generations. Understanding this profound web of connection transforms how we perceive our place in the world. It dissolves the illusion of individuality as isolation, replacing it with a deeper awareness of unity and mutual. Listening to nature is an act of deep awareness, a quieting of the mind to hear the unspoken wisdom that surrounds us. Nature does not use words, yet it communicates profoundly through its rhythms, patterns, and subtle shifts. To truly listen is to attune ourselves to this silent dialogue, to step beyond human noise and reconnect with the language of the earth. The rustling of leaves, the murmur of a stream, the distant call of a bird, these sounds are not random, they are expressions of life unfolding in its natural state. Each carries a message, a reminder of the balance and interdependence that sustain the world. The wind through the trees tells of movement and change, the flow of water speaks of persistence and renewal, and the stillness of a mountain teaches patience and endurance. Listening to nature is not merely an auditory act, it is a sensory immersion. It involves feeling the warmth of sunlight, the coolness of rain, the texture of the soil beneath our feet. It is noticing how the air feels before a storm, how the sky shifts from day to night, and how the scent of the earth changes with the seasons. These experiences connect us to something larger than ourselves, grounding us in the present moment. In listening, we also learn to observe the intricate relationships that sustain life. The harmony of an ecosystem, where every organism plays its part, reveals a profound intelligence at work. The way bees pollinate flowers, the interplay of predator and prey, the cycle of nutrients through soil and roots, all of these interactions speak of cooperation and balance, a symphony in which every note matters. This listening requires humility. It asks us to set aside our assumptions and to approach the natural world not as masters but as students. In doing so, we begin to see the earth not as a collection of resources but as a living, breathing entity with its own rhythms and needs. We learn that nature thrives not through control, but through respect and alignment. When we listen, we also hear warnings. The drying of rivers, the retreat of glaciers, the silence where once there was birdsong, these changes are the Earth's way of speaking to us, urging us to notice the imbalance we have created. Nature does not shout, but its messages grow louder as we fail to heed them. Listening to nature is a practice of presence. It draws us out of the distractions of modern life and into the reality of the living world. It reminds us of our place within the web of existence, teaching us to tread lightly, to act wisely, and to cherish the beauty that sustains us. Respect, not domination, is the foundation of a harmonious relationship with the earth. It is the understanding that the natural world is not something to be subdued or controlled, but something to be honored and cared for. This perspective requires a shift in how we perceive ourselves, not as rulers over nature, but as participants within it, as threads woven into the intricate fabric of life. The domination arises from a mindset that sees the earth as a collection of inert resources existing solely for human use. This outlook has driven centuries of exploitation, leaving behind scars on the land, polluted waters, and species pushed to the brink of extinction. It treats the living world as a commodity, ignoring its intrinsic value and the deep interconnections that sustain life. Respect, on the other hand, begins with humility. It acknowledges that the earth is ancient, powerful, and infinitely complex, far beyond the full grasp of human understanding. This reverence is not rooted in fear, but in awe and appreciation for the elegance of ecosystems, the resilience of the natural world, and the balance that allows life to flourish. To respect the earth is to recognize its rights. Just as every person has a right to life, freedom, and dignity, so too does every part of the natural world deserve care and protection. A river has the right to flow freely, unchoked by pollution. A forest has the right to stand tall, its biodiversity unthreatened by destruction. These rights are not granted by us, they exist inherently as part of the earth's integrity. Respect also calls for listening and learning. Nature has its own wisdom encoded in the cycles of growth, decay, and renewal. It shows us how to coexist, how to adapt, and how to thrive without excess. By observing these patterns, we can learn to live more sustainably, aligning our actions with the rhythms of the earth rather than imposing our will upon it. This respect transforms how we interact with the world. It asks us to take only what we need, leaving enough for other forms of life to thrive. It guides us to build in ways that work with nature rather than against it, designing systems that regenerate rather than deplete. Respect is not passive, it is an active practice, requiring intention, awareness, and effort to ensure that our presence enhances rather than diminishes the earth's vitality. Respect, not domination, recognizes that the earth is not ours to own but a shared home, a living system of which we are a part. This perspective fosters gratitude for the resources the earth provides and a deep sense of responsibility for how we use them. It reminds us that every action has consequences, rippling through ecosystems and across generations. To respect the earth is to honor the gift of life it sustains, preserving it not just for ourselves, but for all who share it now and in the future. The dance of life is the ceaseless, rhythmic interplay of all things, a choreography woven into the very fabric of existence. It is a dance without beginning or end, where every movement is both a response and an initiation, a constant flow of energy that connects all living and non-living things in an ever-evolving harmony. Life does not move in isolation, it moves in relation. Just as a dancer listens to the music and responds to the movements of their partner, so too does every element of nature respond to the others. The wind shapes the trees, the tides sculpt the shores, and the sun calls forth the vibrant green of leaves. Each action is met with a reaction, each moment an improvisation within the larger composition of existence. This dance is not. The illusion of ownership is the deeply ingrained belief that we can possess or control something, as though it is separate from the flow of life and the interconnected web of existence. It stems from a mindset that sees the earth and all its creations as commodities to be acquired, owned, and exploited. This belief encourages us to treat the natural world as if it is ours to do with as we please, often without considering the consequences of our actions or the inherent connections we share with all life. At the core of this illusion is the idea that we as individuals or societies can truly own anything, whether land, resources, or even other beings. But ownership, in its truest sense, is an abstract concept. We cannot truly possess the earth, for we are part of it. The soil beneath our feet, the air we breathe, and the water we drink are all part of a dynamic, ever-changing system shared by countless life forms. We are not its masters, but its temporary stewards, entrusted with its care for a brief moment in the grand timeline of existence. The illusion of ownership distorts our relationship with the earth, creating a false sense of control that leads to exploitation. It encourages us to extract, consume, and discard without thought for the long-term impact on the environment or the creatures with whom we share the planet. This mindset forgets that nothing truly belongs to any one individual or group. The mountains, rivers, and forests existed long before us, and they will continue to evolve long after we are gone. The earth is not a possession, but a living entity that we are privileged to share in for a time. In human relationships, the illusion of ownership also plays out in the form of possessiveness, whether in our attachment to other people, objects, or ideas. We tend to claim ownership over one another, thinking that we can control or define another person's identity, feelings, or actions. This sense of ownership can create conflict and suffering, as it overlooks the reality that each person is an independent being, sovereign in their own right, not an object to be owned or manipulated. Even our most cherished possessions, our homes, our cars, our belongings, are fleeting in nature. These items are merely temporary carriers of energy, materials that will eventually return to the earth, transformed into something else. When we hold on too tightly to the idea of ownership, we cling to things that cannot be kept, ignoring the impermanent nature of life itself. Nothing is truly ours to own. We are simply custodians, entrusted with the care and stewardship of the things we use during our time here. This illusion is particularly evident in the way we view the natural world. We create boundaries, property lines, national borders, and resource claims, and believe that these define ownership. But nature knows no such boundaries. The river that flows through a private property, the winds that carry pollen from one field to another, and the animals that migrate across continents are not confined by human concepts of possession. These systems are inherently shared, interconnected, and fluid. When we forget this interconnectedness, we begin to act as though we can isolate ourselves from the rest of the world, treating the earth and its resources as if they belong solely to us, rather than to all living things. The illusion of ownership blinds us to the deeper truth that we are not separate from the earth, but part of it. It leads us to believe that we can dominate nature, extract its wealth, and consume its resources without regard for the delicate balance that sustains life. But in doing so, we forget that in trying to own the earth, we are only disowning ourselves from the very interconnectedness that makes us whole. Surrender to wonder is the willingness to let go of the constraints of certainty, control, and expectation, and to open ourselves fully to the awe and mystery of existence. It is a surrender not to weakness or passivity, but to the vastness of life itself, the beauty, the complexity, the unfathomable depth of the world around us. When we surrender to wonder, we embrace the unknown, allowing ourselves to be humbled by the enormity of the universe and the intricate, living systems that surround us. In a world that often prioritizes efficiency, productivity, and certainty, surrendering to wonder requires a conscious release of the need to have all the answers. It asks us to become comfortable with ambiguity, with mystery, and with the realization that not everything can be understood, controlled, or explained. The natural world is full of marvels, every blade of grass, every star in the sky, every creature that walks, swims, or flies is part of an intricate dance of life that transcends human comprehension. To surrender to wonder is to accept that we are not the center of it all, but participants in a vast unfolding story. Wonder is not something we seek outside of ourselves, but something we rediscover within. It is the childlike sense of awe that arises when we experience something for the first time, the joy of discovery, the thrill of seeing the world with fresh eyes. This feeling does not fade as we age, but often becomes buried beneath layers of routine, expectation, and the noise of everyday life. Surrendering to wonder is the process of peeling away those layers, allowing ourselves to be fully present and receptive to the world as it is, without the need for it to be anything other than what it is. Nature is a constant source of wonder, if only we take the time to truly see it. The patterns of leaves, the play of light on water, the quiet hum of insects, all of these are expressions of life's boundless creativity. When we surrender to wonder, we stop seeking to control or categorize these phenomena, and instead allow them to simply be. We allow ourselves to be enveloped by their beauty, and to let that beauty speak directly to our hearts. In this way, we are reminded of the miracle of life itself, how every moment is a manifestation of countless forces working in harmony to create something extraordinary. To surrender to wonder also means to let go of our need for certainty. In a world that thrives on knowledge and analysis, wonder asks us to embrace the mystery, to revel in the fact that not everything needs to be understood. It invites us to become comfortable with the unknown, to live with questions rather than answers. Harmony as purpose is the understanding that the fundamental aim of life is not to strive for power, dominance, or material gain, but to cultivate balance, unity, and resonance within ourselves, with each other, and with the world. It is the recognition that true fulfillment and meaning arise from the alignment of our actions with the natural flow of life, and from our ability to contribute to the greater harmony of the universe. In a world often driven by competition, division, and the pursuit of individual success, the idea of harmony as purpose offers a radically different approach, one that seeks to restore balance and foster connection rather than fragmentation. When we live with harmony as our purpose, we understand that our individual lives are part of a greater whole, that our choices have far-reaching impacts on the interconnected web of existence. Each action, no matter how small, ripples out into the world, influencing the lives of others and the environment around us. Harmony asks us to consider how we can move through the world with a sense of mindfulness, respect, and cooperation, recognizing that our well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of all. Harmony as purpose is not a passive state, but an active practice. It calls us to work in alignment with the natural rhythms and cycles of life, attuning ourselves to the ebb and flow of the world around us. It is about listening deeply, listening to the earth, to other people, to the subtle guidance within ourselves, and responding in ways that nurture balance and unity. Just as a musician must listen to the notes and rhythms that surround them, so must we listen to the subtle energies and patterns of life, tuning ourselves to the symphony of existence. This approach to life is grounded in a sense of unity, where the distinction between self and other, between humans and nature, begins to dissolve. When we embrace harmony as our purpose, we no longer see ourselves as separate from the earth or from each other, but as integral parts of a living, breathing whole. The trees, the rivers, the animals, the air, we are all part of the same dance, contributing to the overall harmony of the earth. To live in harmony means to recognize this interconnectedness and to act in ways that honor and support it. At a personal level, harmony as purpose means aligning our internal state with the world around us. It asks us to cultivate peace within ourselves, to resolve internal conflicts, and to let go of the noise and distractions that pull us away from the present moment. Inner harmony creates a foundation from which we can interact with the world in a balanced, loving, and compassionate way. When we are centered and attuned to our own inner rhythms, we are more capable of contributing positively to the harmony of the world. This sense of purpose also involves a recognition that conflict and discord are part of life, but they need not dominate or define our existence. Harmony does not mean the absence of struggle, but rather the ability to find balance in the midst of chaos. It is the ability to navigate challenges with grace, to move through life's storms without losing our connection to the deeper currents of peace and unity. In this sense, harmony is a practice of resilience. It is the willingness to remain anchored in our purpose, even when external circumstances seem uncertain or tumultuous. Living with harmony as purpose also requires us to take responsibility for the impact we have on others and on the earth. It asks us to consider not just our own needs and desires, but the needs of the greater community, human, animal, and environmental. It encourages us to think long-term, considering how our choices today will affect the harmony of future generations. This responsibility is not burdensome, but liberating, for it connects us to something larger than ourselves and allows us to participate in the creation of a world that reflects balance and mutual respect. And to live with harmony as purpose is to choose cooperation over competition, compassion over indifference, and unity over division. It is to see the world as a living expression of interconnectedness, where every part has a role to play in the unfolding story of life. In this understanding, our purpose becomes clear: to foster harmony wherever we go, to nurture the relationships we have with the world, and to contribute to the greater balance of the earth and all its beings. It is a purpose that transcends individual ambition, offering a path that is guided by love, care, and a deep respect for the intricate web of life that surrounds us. In embracing harmony as our purpose, we recognize that we are not isolated beings, but interconnected threads within the vast tapestry of life. Our actions, big or small, create ripples that affect the world and all its inhabitants. To live in harmony is to listen deeply to the natural rhythms around us, to foster balance within ourselves, and to honor the interconnectedness of all. It is a call to act with compassion, unity, and mindfulness, shaping a world that reflects mutual respect and peace. Through this purpose, we align with the greater flow of life, contributing to a more harmonious existence for all.